Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marco Carrion, the Commissioner of Community Affairs, and I'd like to first acknowledge some of our co-sponsors. First, Warren Shriver from the Bay Terrace Community Alliance. Warren, thank you so much. Also, Linda Lee and Kwan Kim from the Korean Community Services. They're shy. I'd like to start off by asking Stuart Kaplan, CEO of Self-Help Community Services, to come up as our host for this evening to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We are honored on behalf of Self-Help Community Services to welcome everybody here this evening. And Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for allowing us to host this evening. Delighted to see you. We also just want to acknowledge Borough President Melinda Katz. Lovely to have you here. Public Advocate Tish James, I saw you here. Thank you for being here. And of course, our very own council member, Paul Vallone, who we love. Thank you. As many of you know, and if you don't, please look at the walls, this is Self-Help's 80th anniversary year. We have been providing services, community-based services to seniors throughout New York City through our home care programs, our case management programs, working with the Department for the Aging in particular. Commissioner Carrada, nice to see you, thank you. And of course, senior centers, and that's where we are sitting this evening, is in the Self-Help Clearview Senior Center. We are also large providers of affordable housing throughout the city of New York. And just through those doors is one of our buildings, the Shoya House of Bayside. We have been serving the Northeast Queens and Bayside community for about 40 years. And Mr. Mayor, we would very much like to thank you for your leadership on affordable housing in this city, and in particular for affordable housing for seniors. It is something that is very near and dear to our hearts, particularly from Self-Help's perspective, because we know the needs of seniors. We have a waiting list of some 4,000 people who are waiting online to come into affordable housing in the city. So thank you. We cheer you on in that regard, and best of luck this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. I'd like to invite up our public advocate, Tish James.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we were sitting here waiting for the mayor, Warren whispered in my ear, "It's like waiting for the bride to come in." Well, the bride has arrived, Warren. So hello, College Point. Hello, Bayside College, Whites and Whitestone. I want to thank all of you. I've been to this neighborhood and to this district and to this community board and to Queens on a number of occasions. And I know a number of the questions and issues that you will address tonight include air traffic noise. Yes. Back there, that's the air traffic noise back here. That's the contingent over here. Affordable housing for seniors, making sure that assessments are maintained and that we do something with regards to taxes to make sure that co-ops and condos and seniors stay in their place. Yes. And I know also we're going to talk maybe perhaps a little bit about the snowstorm. Is there a snowstorm contingent here? Okay, no? Okay, we're good on the snowstorm, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, last but not least, all of us clearly want to make sure that we can maintain the quality of life here in this part of Queens. It's an honor and a privilege to serve as the public advocate of the city of New York. I look forward to coming out here again and again and speaking to you about all of your issues. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words, and we look forward to this town hall meeting. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you. Next up, your Borough President, Melinda Katz.
Good evening. Is Queens in the house? Queens is in the house. We want to, first of all, let's thank our Councilman Paul Vallone for his great work. You know, Queens is an amazing place. We are a borough of families. We are the world's borough. We are first and foremost, though, a borough of families. Whether we are new immigrants that just came here yesterday or third or fourth generation, we are raising our families right here in the borough of Queens, and we love every single moment of it. We are also the only borough that says, I am from Forest Hills, New York. I am from Bayside, New York. I'm from Little Neck, New York. And we love the distinction in our communities, and I will tell you that Councilman Paul Vallone and I, from the moment we came into office, have been working together to rebuild parks like Crocheron and Bound Park, rebuild libraries like the Douglaston Library, and it takes all levels of government, and it takes attention. And for the mayor of the city of New York to come in here and do a town hall meeting with us, he is to be thanked, and we thank him for being here. It's going to be an amazing night. Let me just say this. I have been in office now for almost 22 years. I started when I was 10. I have never seen a city where the entire city of New York, whether you agree with every single thing or not, the entire city of New York is talking about where people can live in an affordable way. This mayor has done that. We also have never seen a city where every 4-year-old gets the right to go to pre-K in our New York City public school system. They're big issues, Mr. Mayor, and we know they're tough to take on, but you've done that. And you also have open debate, and we appreciate that. And we also appreciate the fact that you're here to listen to all of the other issues like potholes and speed bumps and all of that we care deeply about as well. So, Paul Vallone, Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And now, last but definitely not least, your council member and our moderator for the evening, Paul Vallone.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk with the mayor and I. I thought there'd be a couple of cappuccinos here, but you know, we're going to have to coffee talk. I came out and I saw the table and 2 chairs, and I said, hey, this is kind of nice. I like this. So welcome to Northeast Queens, and welcome to the Self-Help Center. I think the best district in the city. Right, guys? We are a district that is very excited to see you come. We have such unique qualities here. So we go from City Field and College Point, and then we work our way, and I share with Peter Koo most of Flushing. Then we have Whitestone, and then we work our way out to Bayside and Auburndale. We have some of Auburndale, Little Neck, Douglaston. It really is all in Northeast Queens. And the beauty of it is everyone in these rows are civic leaders and presidents and activists, and they've all come tonight. And starting name calling is going to be trouble because there's a name in every row as I see one, but they're all here. And I think that's really to the strength of our district out here in District 19, a district that's very proud to have the 109 and the 111 precincts. So we have Inspector Conforti and Captain McBride here. Our Queens North leader, couldn't do it without you, Don. If you take care of us, Diane Pizzuti. Let's hear it for Chief Pizzuti. And not only did the mayor came, he brought every commissioner with him. So, and I think that really goes to show what we've asked for from the beginning, right? When we live out here in Northeast Queens, what we always wanted to see was our city government listen to us, right? And come to us. And one of the first things we did was work with the borough president, work with our agencies when we asked for task forces, whether it was DOT, whether it was parks, whether it was finance. They listened. They started the process to come out. And I think reason why tonight is so important, that we brought the boss and we brought the mayor. And now the mayor can hear from us in a very nice informal setting. That's why I really like this type of arrangement, because we can kind of have it wide open to hear from us. So what I want us to do is to take that opportunity. If you heard a question that was something that you were going to ask, maybe ask something different. Right, let's get some change and some ideas. It's really an open forum, so I'm just going to kind of move things around. The Italian twins here. We're going to keep things moving as fast as we can, so we can get to everything at once. But we're going to do, as you can see, the hands are moving all night, so we're going to be doing the hands. Another thing we're very proud of out here. You may have seen some of the kids from 169 and Bell Academy. Where are my kids? Their principal, Vanessa Rosa and David Abbott from Bell Academy. Where are they? Vanessa and David. They have a special thing they're going to ask you, and they've been taking care of animals, and they're amazing, which brings us to our superintendents who take care of us in District 25 and 26. The two best districts and school districts in the city, Danielle DeMango and Danielle Junta. I see Principal Athy hiding in the back from Bayside High School. I see you back there, Mike. One of the largest in the city, and doing damn good out there. So those are some of the sprinklings of things that are going out here. Quality of life, our middle class, our seniors are first and foremost, our veterans. We have the highest population of veterans, and I know you have some good things to tell us about that. Right? Let's hear it for our veterans. And I think at this point, there's things to come up, and I see Dermot Smith from the UFT. Dermot, thank you for always being a guiding force with all of our teachers and our principals. Going to turn it over, and the mayor's going to give us some introductory remarks, and then for that point, we'll take some questions. So let's hear it for our mayor, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And I want to say at the outset, there are people who care about their community and who do something about it. And everyone in this room qualifies as someone who cares enough to be here. You've been doing a lot of other things tonight, but you wanted to be at a town hall meeting to talk about your community, to raise concerns, to make sure your community was getting better. So I want to really thank you for that, because that is, in fact, what has, in so many cases, made sure communities were strong. People who created a sense of what the community needed, held all of us accountable, which is what a democracy demands, and rolled up their sleeves and did something. Now, you are blessed to have Paul as your councilman, and I want to speak from personal experience. I've known Paul for most of 20 years. I had the honor of working for his father, Peter Vallone Sr., who did a lot of great things for this city, and we are very proud of him. And Paul is someone that I learned a long time ago to trust, to listen to. When he raises concerns about this community, I listen very, very carefully, because I know he has the best interests of the community in mind. I know he's a fair guy. I know he's a smart guy. So I want everyone in this community to know he always has an open door at City Hall, because he's proven himself to be a true public servant. And that is something that the whole community can be proud of, for having made the choice of this man as your councilman. We work together to do something very important for this city. And let me tell you, it was something that Paul cared about deeply. He mentioned his commitment to our veterans and how much it means to him that this is a district with so many veterans. I have a very personal view of this matter. And, you know, as a child, I didn't know what I can tell you now. I didn't know that I was getting an understanding of what all veterans go through, because it was in my home every single day, the results of war. My dad served in the Pacific, in the U.S. Army in World War II. And he fought in a number of engagements in the Pacific, including the Battle of Okinawa, which was one of the bloodiest battles of all time, and he came back missing half a leg. And I didn't think anything but that was my father. And of course, I was proud of what he had done. But he bore both the physical scars and the emotional scars. Now, you know, for those of the World War II generation, it was harder, and it wasn't, you know, typical in our society back then to talk about the emotional scars, but they were very real. And my dad had a very, very tough time, even though he was a guy who had shown such bravery. So I got to know what veterans have gone through personal experience. And the men and women who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan and so many other places are bringing back a host of challenges because they served us. Now, let's be clear. Our national government, and this is an absolutely bipartisan statement because it happened under Democrats and Republicans, our national government did not take care of our veterans the way it should have. It just didn't. And so Paul was one of the people who believed that we had to do something more in the city, and we had to create a city of New York Department of Veterans Affairs. And with Paul's leadership and the leadership of the City Council, we did that. And we're going to provide a lot more for our veterans. And something I'm proud of, the president called upon mayors all over the country to commit to do something that should have happened a long, long time ago, to commit to end chronic veterans homelessness. Think about for a moment what a horrible thing it is that people who served our country overseas came back and were homeless here in their own country. And we took that commitment up, and we said we will do whatever it takes to end chronic veterans homelessness in this city. That means the folks who unfortunately time and again were homeless. This year we achieved that goal. This year we ended chronic veteran homelessness in New York City. We've got more work to do, because I don't even want a veteran to be homeless for a week or a day. But we're well on the road to making sure that any of the men and women who served us can come back here and know that they will be supported and taken care of. Paul played a big role in that effort. Paul has fought for seniors also, and I want to thank him for that. One of the first things we did together was to work on behalf of senior centers to strengthen them and strengthen the efforts on behalf of seniors, the single fastest growing demographic in New York City, by the way. Right. And there's people who deserve a lot more support. So I will just tell you, this guy goes to bat for you. He is well respected, and he gets a lot done. And let's thank him for all he does. Tish James has the job I used to have, and I thank her for what she does for the city. I had the honor of being public advocate. I thank her for all she does all over the city to advocate for people and make sure the government is serving all of the people, and she's doing a great job with that. I want to thank Melinda Katz, who I want to tell you, Melinda and I, it was August, I think, we went to Citi Field. And I said, Melinda, you and I went to Citi Field, and next thing you know, the Mets were in the World Series, okay? So we have to go again this year, obviously. But I really want to thank Melinda for all she does. She also advocates incessantly for the borough of Queens, lets us know all the time what needs to be done, and we appreciate her advocacy. And I want to thank Stuart Kaplan for his very kind welcome. You know, this is an amazing place. 80 years self-help has been here. That's amazing to begin with. But self-help grew with a mission of addressing the injustice and the pain of people who have been through the Holocaust, and now embraces people from every part of the world, all different cultures, with the same beautiful commitment and openness and understanding. And isn't that the American way? That each generation welcomes the next and embraces the next. So let's thank everyone at Self-Help for what they do. All right, I'm going to say a few things that I want you to hear up front, and then we're going to take lots of questions tonight and have a dialogue. But let me first tell you about tonight's batting order of all the commissioners. There's my message. It's spring training. I can talk about the batting order. I got all the commissioners who are here. And I always say at town hall meetings, these wonderful people are out here. They serve the city. They do a great job. They're here on this Monday night, but they're also a captive audience for you. So at the conclusion of the meeting, if you want to buttonhole any of them and talk to them about your issues, this is a golden opportunity. They'll stay all night. They're happy about it, too.
It's good to be the boss.
That's right. All right, here we go. I'll name them all in rapid order. You can clap anytime you want. The Commissioner of Transportation, Polly Trottenberg. The Sanitation Commissioner, Catherine Garcia. President of the Economic Development Corporation, Maria Torres Springer. Commissioner of the Human Resource Administration, Steve Banks. Our Small Business Services Commissioner, Greg Bishop. Department of Finance Commissioner, Jacques Giha. Our Parks Commissioner, Mitch Silver. Commissioner of the Department for the Aging, Donna Corrado. I knew you'd have a cheering section. Department of Buildings Commissioner, Rick Chandler. You met earlier, Commissioner for the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, Marco Carrion. Thank you for all you do. First Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Health, Dr. Oxiris Barbeau. Deputy Chancellor for the Department of Education, Elizabeth Rose. You met, of course, before our two superintendents, and we thank them for their great work. The Consumer Affairs Acting Commissioner, Alba Pico. Associate Commissioner of Housing Preservation and Development, Anne-Marie Santiago. Director of Community Affairs, Department of Environmental Protection, Ibrahim Abdul Matin. Queens Director for the Department of City Planning, John Young. Someone I'm very happy is here because he's going to speak to some very important issues tonight. Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement, Christian Klosner. Thank you. And the Deputy Director, Catherine Wan. Thank you. And then from the NYPD, I want to thank them again for all they do to keep these communities safe. They're doing a stellar job. Assistant Chief Diana Pizzuti of Queens North. Deputy Chief John Essing of Queens North. Commanding Officer of the 109 Precinct, Deputy Inspector Thomas Conforti. Commanding Officer of the 111 Precinct, Captain William McBride. So let me talk about what they've done very quickly. This is an amazing thing. NYPD gets better all the time. In the last 2 years, they've driven down major crime almost 6%. And this is a police force that we are about to, in the year 2016, add 2,000 more officers on patrol. That is the first increase in patrol strength in 15 years. This NYPD has stronger training, stronger technology than ever before, and something else very important. We all see what's happening in the world around us. And Commissioner Bratt and I came to the conclusion, and we worked with the City Council, that we needed a different and stronger anti-terror capacity in this city. We have created a command, the Critical Response Command, 500 plus officers, specially trained, specially armed to deal with any potential terrorist situation and to prevent terrorism. NYPD has done an amazing job since 9/11 preventing terror, but today's challenges are even more complex. So we have the strongest anti-terror capacity of any police force in the country, and we thank all of the leaders of NYPD here. They've done an amazing job also in these two precincts driving down crime, and I'm very happy to say that on April 1st in the 109th Precinct, our new neighborhood policing initiative will be beginning, which means even stronger policing will be happening in the 109. And as I said, additional officers joining both precincts in the course of this year because of the expansion of the NYPD. We're looking forward to that, and we thank you for all you do. We all need safe neighborhoods. There's some other things we need. We need clean neighborhoods. And one of the things we announced is that we're going to be adding Sunday and holiday litter basket collections all over the city. That's going to be true in particular, for example, Bell Boulevard from 46th to 35th Avenues. We'll be getting those pickups. We've doubled the amount of anti-graffiti capacity because we want to stop graffiti anywhere we see it. And you're going to be seeing that all over the district, and particularly that we know there's been some issues with Cross Island Parkway, so you're going to see our new anti-graffiti capacity there. We're doubling down on our Vision Zero efforts, and that's going to mean constant enforcement by the NYPD to keep people safe. This is a tough challenge, but over 2 years, Vision Zero has been working. NYPD, Department of Transportation have played an amazing role in getting that done. We're also going to keep making our streets safer. So I know there's been safety concern. 26th Ave and Corporal Kennedy Street, we're making improvements there to make people safer. And something nice that will be in the streetscape, we will be adding a city bench right here in front of this senior center. So people have that. That will be in within a month. And a couple other facts you should know, and they're important, and then we're going to open it up. This city, we always have challenges. We always have challenges, but there are some very powerful things happening. The growth in jobs in this city has been extraordinary. We have in the city of New York today 4.2 million jobs. It is the most jobs we have had in the entire history of the city. I'm proud to say in the last 2 years, we added almost 220,000 jobs in the city. That is the most jobs added in any 2-year period in the city's history. And that's good for every neighborhood, and in particular in Queens. And this is really impressive. I said from the beginning, we need a 5-borough economy. God bless Manhattan, but we need a 5-borough economy with jobs in every borough. For 2014, so last year we have the full facts for 2014, Queens had a growth in jobs of 4% in 1 year in Queens alone. And that's a good sign. And I know a lot of small business owners in the room, and jobs in New York City are created by small business. And I want to thank all the small business owners in this room. We also have been doing a lot when it comes to educating our kids, and the simple facts, 2 things I want to note. 70% plus graduation rate, also for the first time in the city's history. We have gone over 70% in graduation rate. And I thank all the parents in this room, I thank all the teachers and the principals, and I thank the students in this room for all they've done. And Melinda mentioned pre-K, and everyone I think knows this was my first priority, to make sure we had this for every child. Let me tell you one fact that really jumps out. In Bayside and the surrounding district, 4,500 kids in full-day pre-K this year. That is quadruple the number from just 2 years ago. Quadrupling of the number of full-day pre-K seats. I'm going to finish with one more point on, you heard the point made before about senior affordable housing. Again, our seniors, fastest growing demographic in this city. Our seniors need to know they will have a place to live in this city, in the neighborhood they love, near their families, near their friends. And we are moving forward with a very aggressive program for senior affordable housing. The federal government used to do it. You're not going to be surprised to hear the federal government is not doing it anymore. And we have to make up for that. And so we put in place a very aggressive program to create affordable housing, to preserve a lot of the apartments the seniors have now. We want the ability to create affordable housing for seniors in a lot of places. It has not been allowed under our current zoning laws. We're working with the City Council. There's a proposal called Zoning for Quality and Affordability, and the #1 part of that initiative is to open up more opportunities for senior affordable housing. And I think it's something that's going to make a big difference. I talk about a very personal experience I had when my mom lived almost 90 years old, which is a blessing. And she was an extraordinary person and a wonderful mother. And she was very independent, and she wanted to live on her own well into her 80s. And a point came where her health wasn't so great, and we knew that she needed a lot more support. So we were able to move her to a home a block away from us in Brooklyn. And she got to spend a lot of time with her grandchildren, and she always knew we were there just minutes away. And it was a very good way for her to live those years. Everyone should have that opportunity to take care of the seniors and their families. Every senior should have an opportunity to be close to the ones that they love. But it won't happen if we don't change the way we do things, because we have to do things a lot quicker and a lot better to create the affordable housing our seniors need. And we're focused on that. So thank you for the chance to be with you. I look forward to hearing your questions, offering all the answers I can. We get a lot done at these meetings, We have found we get a lot done for neighborhoods, and I look forward to talking with you tonight. Thank you very much.
All right. So, as the mayor said, we have 3 co-hosts, and I think it's important that, especially here at Self-Help, who has been opening their doors literally to us, but to our seniors every day, Erin Brennan. Erin, where are you? She's our manager here. Erin, thank you for always, how many times we hear you never say no. I thank you very much. And Sandy Myers, where are you, Sandy, the voice? There she is, right next to us. Thank you, Sandy. Ed Braunstein, you need partners up in Albany. He's our assembly member here in the 26th district. He's in session, but we thank Ed for always standing. Anytime I need a partner in Albany, Ed's there. And Mr. Kim, what else can I say about you and Linda Lee over at KCS? You have been a model for DFTA, for me as an attorney for elder law, as a senior center chair, to see how important it is to have senior centers, but senior centers with an ethnic background, especially for our Korean community, the largest Korean community service center. Mr. Kim, thank you very much for everything that you do. So since the mayor ended by talking about seniors and it's important, why don't Mr. Kim or Linda, you want to start us off with our first question? We can do it that way. Mr. Kim and Mr. Linda Lee, how about you? Come on, you can do one.
You surprised them.
I did. I
Paul.
surprised them. I went right to them in the back. You can do it, Mr. Kim. You're our tutor.
Okay. They're arguing over who won't take the question. Okay.
First of all, I appreciate for this opportunity. And serving the seniors is a privilege and honor for us. And thanks to Commissioner Difter and our councilman. And always expanding our service to meet the needs of our seniors, always having problems and issues, but always discuss with our councilman. One issue that we have is homebound seniors. And they are culturally limited, varied. Such a barrier they have, and we need to focusing on how to serve homebound Asian seniors in our community. Our Borough President supported us 2 hot shop and last year that help us the quality of the services. We will continue our service to meet the needs, and I will bring the issues to our elected officials and our community leaders. We're still going on that way. I appreciate our get together.
Thank you. You want to say anything to that? Donna, stand up. You guys stand up. Donna Corrado.
Of course, Community Senior Services does a great job serving the Korean community, and may I say that they've also done a great job working at helping DFTA providers and DFTA staff to how to serve this particular community. So we're learning with you, and we support you. And yes, homebound seniors, the growing number of seniors, so that's an area of growth for us as well. So thank you.
And if someone didn't hear the question, just let me know and we'll... DFTA, we love acronyms in the city of New York. We have acronyms for everything. Department for the Aging. Okay, so DFTA is critical for us here, and that's why we're so happy that Donna's here. She's at all my hearings down at City Hall. So anytime we have something here at Self-Help, or the Samuel Field Y, or the College Point Hannock Center, or the Greater Whitestone Taxpayer Senior Center in Whitestone, those are my 4 senior centers here. So when you bring an issue to me, we bring it to Donna and to the mayor, and it's addressed. Okay, so our second co-host for tonight, a dear friend, and I probably wouldn't be standing here without his support and his help and his guidance and his friendship. He has become the second mayor out here in Northeast Queens, and we lovingly...
I think he's the first mayor.
I think, yeah, especially out here.
He was there ahead of me.
Warren has many titles, but Warren Schreiber is a friend to the whole community. He's the president of the Bay Terrace Civic Alliance. Warren Schreiber.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, you are the mayor. Absolutely. I don't want to compete with the mayor. And I
no, really, you can have the job.
and I want to thank you for coming out here tonight. I want to speak as co-president of the President's Co-op and Condo Council. And that's my other co-president is Bob Friedrich. And we work together. And I commend you on your efforts for affordable housing. And the co-op and condo community in Queens and Brooklyn and the Bronx, we are affordable housing. That's what we do. When you talk about a living wage, we provide tens of thousands of well-paying union jobs for tens and thousands of men and women. That's what all of our employees are union. Yes. Well, but if we don't do something to get the property taxes, the assessed evaluations in hand, eventually our properties will become unaffordable. We'll have to cut back services. We will have to lay employees off. I would never want to do that. My employees are like family to me. And as you know, Commissioner Gia, the problem is that the Class 2 properties, we don't have the same protections that are afforded to Class 1 properties. Our assessed evaluations are based on comparable properties, rentals, that when you come out here, they don't exist. So we don't, right, so you're basing the comparables on properties that don't exist. And this goes back to 1996 under Mayor Dinkins, and he agreed that something had to be done then. And we would love an opportunity to sit down with people from the administration, maybe form a task force, just to look at this issue of the co-op and condo taxes, and maybe we could come up with something and working in conjunction with Albany and finally come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you're always welcome to come sit with us, and these are real issues. I'm not going to minimize them, so I will make sure Jacques and others sit down with you and talk them through. Look, let me offer where I think we really are at this moment. The whole situation with property tax, we know a few things for sure. It is not consistent, it's not clear, it's not transparent, and we know that any solution, I believe this strongly, has to be across the entire property tax system. I understand there are some very specific challenges and some people who really need help, but we have to come up with a solution that goes across the entire property tax system, which means an incredibly complicated, challenging mission. It's a mission I have said publicly I will take on. It's going to take a while. I'm not going to lie to you and say this is an easy one or an overnight one. But in the meantime, this is what I've done, which is I'm not missing the assessed value challenge. But in the meantime, the issue is to make sure we do not have property tax rate increases. Now, 2 times in the last 15 years, and I'm a homeowner in Brooklyn, we had property tax rate increases. And the way I have gone about my budget is to make sure that does not happen. We're in the middle of my 3rd budget since I became mayor. There is no property tax increase. I have laid in extraordinary reserves. Everyone is looking at the same newscasts I am. We see some things happening around the world in the economy that are unsettling, and we want to be ready if anything happens that causes us fiscal stress. So we've put in a lot of reserves so that we will not get to the day where there has to be a property tax rate increase. So the one thing I can say is we're very clear and consistent on that front. But the bigger challenge will take a very, very big solution. I will take responsibility to work with everyone to forge that. It will take time. But in the meantime, I will protect against any rate increase.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your wife was very happy with you, Warren. She was shaking her head up and down. So you're in good shape tonight. All right. So what I'd like to do, I think we mentioned co-op condos, and I know we have Bob Friedrich and Michael Kurtz, and I would think probably one of the questions that I've heard from them and also the co-op condo community is Albany might be thinking about tweaking the definition of a NORC, which another one of our famous acronyms, NORC. So it's a naturally occurring retirement community. And one important fact about our district is we have the largest residential NORC in the city. And that's Mike Kurtz with Clearview Gardens.
NORC is not a good acronym.
Yeah, I know. But
This doesn't sound good.
Thank you for taking care of our Clearview Gardens.
Retirement community. There you go.
It is. So I just wanted to make sure that I think with Donna here and yourself that I think the question I've been hearing is to make sure that we will do everything we can to support our NORC system with funding, with additional programs, because so many of our seniors are living with dignity at home, and I think that's the importance of having a NORC, so we don't have to do that. So maybe some thoughts on
So I'll open and then pass to Donna, and I think Donna's doing an extraordinary job, and she really has her finger on the pulse of what seniors are experiencing all over the city. But again, we have to change the way we're doing things. So when I think of where this city's going, it means, first and foremost, more affordable housing for seniors all over the city. A second, more accommodations for seniors. One of the things I'm very proud of is we're pushing accessibility across the board, but one of the areas we're doing it in is in terms of taxis and for-hire vehicles. We're doing that for folks who happen to have disabilities, but we're also doing that for seniors, because a lot of seniors need more accessible vehicles they can get around in. And we have to start thinking about everything we do as a city to make this a more senior-friendly city. So it's very much in the front of our minds. You're exactly right. Some of the communities are just organic. There's a lot of seniors in one place. We got to think better about how we provide support and services. So with that, I'm going to pass to Donna to add.
And I would agree wholeheartedly with the mayor in not necessarily liking the word NORC, because there's a lot of confusion around that. But this city does a great job, and with your Vision Zero and making the New York City age-friendly, one of the most age-friendly cities in the world, by the way, we need to continue that and build the infrastructure. No matter what you call it, it's about allowing seniors to age in place in the communities of their choice. So, thank you.
And while we still have our borough president, I think one of the great examples of our partnership, because a lot of it happens through funding, and we are such great supporters of our schools, our libraries, and our parks. Arlene Abdelian, our president of Friends of Little Neck Douglaston Library. Arlene, where are you, my happy, crying supporter of the libraries? I know you have a question for us. So Arlene, let's have... There she goes. See, I told you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Paul. And I'd like to, my name is Arlene Abdalian. I'm president of the Friends of the Douglaston Little Neck Library. And first, many thanks to you, Mayor de Blasio, Paul, our council member, Borough President Melinda Katz, Letitia James, whom we met at the Dragon Boat Festival, and State Assembly member Ed Braunstein, who unfortunately is not here today. I want to thank you all for helping in each and every way to make 6-day service possible citywide in all of our libraries, New York Public, Brooklyn Public, and Queens Library. It's so wonderful to have, after some 15 years, a library-friendly administration in City Hall. Second, we applaud all of your efforts to fund our Queens Library operating and capital budgets. My question is, what can we do to keep investing and increasing funding for fiscal year 17? For example, if you recall last year, we had asked for slightly more than $1 billion, which, by the way, sounds like a lot of money, but it's about 1%, am I correct, of the operating budget? We had asked for that for capital budget projects, and we received $300 million. We are extremely grateful, but surely we can do better than that. And finally, I want to thank publicly, once again, all of you, everyone in this room who supports your local library, and a special thank you to Councilmember Paul Vallone and Borough President Melinda Katz for your generosity in funding the upgrades to the tune of $1 million at the Douglaston Little Neck Library. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
All right. Thank you, Arlene.
Arlene, I love your passion for the library, and thank you for all you've done. And I know it's made a great, great impact on so many people's lives. I do think $1 billion is a lot of money. She's like a billion here, a billion there. But the fact is, I understand the point that for a long time libraries were not invested in, and we are trying to make up some of that ground. I'm not going to jump ahead of my executive budget, which comes out at the end of April. But I can say we feel very good about what's being achieved with the 6-day service. We think it's making a real impact. The capital piece is a little tricky, but we'll have more to say in a few weeks on it. And thank you for all you do.
All right, so Arlene, we love you, but we're going to keep our questions a little bit smaller so we can speed them around. We'll jump to the back. I see our friends from We Love Whitestone. We have George Mertz and Alfredo Centola. George, Alfredo, I know one of you had a question, but... Yeah.
Thank you. My question is, as you know, in our community, we have a small community in Whitestone. Our business district is about 4 square blocks long. And recently, we've had an influx of all these spas that are opening up. You know, you do some research,
Yep.
and you find out there's some of them that opened up advertise on these like escort services, back pages, these rub things. And I know some are legitimate and some are questionable. But we want to know what we can do because, you know, we work with Deputy Inspector Conforti. He comes to all of our meetings. You know, what can we do to find out what's going on? Because it is an issue, and the community, and I think it's everywhere. It's not just in Whitestone. I think it's pretty much widespread.
No, you're right. You're right. So this is an example of the way we can get some things done in these meetings. Because you're absolutely right when you say some are legitimate. That is a true statement. But plenty are illegitimate. And to get at them, the NYPD's done a great job, but it needs more than just the NYPD because we actually need to take every city agency that can have an impact and concentrate that impact and throw the book at them. That's what it takes. And we know we have a real problem here. So we're about to start some very serious enforcement. I'd like you to hear from the Executive Director of the Office of Special Enforcement, Christian Klosner, who will give you a sense of how this is going to proceed.
Everybody, thank you for the question. We're not really an agency. We're an agency. We're a multi-agency task force of buildings, fire, police, law department attorneys. And what we do is we take the resources of all the city's agencies, combine them into one problem, and we go at it. We have a long history of addressing problems like this. Our agency, in its beginning, helped clean up Times Square and sanitized it. And we've now turned our attention to this community. So we'll be working with the police department. If you have addresses, if you have blocks, if you have the worst of the worst, please let us know. We're going to coordinate with the police department. And what we'll do is we'll go. If they're not using the building in the right way, then we get the landlord involved. And we get the landlord to kick them out, or we tell the landlord, you're going to come to court and the judge is going to tell you to kick them out. So
now,
please.
I like a straightforward approach. Christian, how soon are we going to be able to start this effort in this community?
We should be able to start in the next couple of weeks. I just don't want to step on the police
So in
department.
the month of March?
In the month of March, for sure.
Okay, you're going to be working with NYPD and all the other agencies to start a concentrated enforcement effort. And anybody who has an address, I want to really emphasize, please, Christian will be here at the end of the meeting. Obviously, you can get it to PD, you can get it to the councilman. But we want every address that someone thinks is an illegal spa or where there's prostitution or any other kind of offense, because we're going to go at them very hard. Thank you.
I'm here also. My Deputy Director, Catherine Wan, is here. And you can talk to her, too, and give her address.
Thank you very much.
And I think we have one more question in the back there. That better not be a written speech, Alfredo.
No, I had to write it down because I'm sorry, I'm very loud. I had to write it down because I wanted to get my thoughts together.
All right.
So I'm just going to read it. First off, thank you for coming and thank you for taking everyone here. Greatly appreciated. Is this too loud?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. I saw the mayor going like this.
No, I was looking to turn to something. Is it me or is it cold?
It's freezing.
It's freezing.
Can we?
Freezing in here.
Can we get it to be warmer in here?
Well, I just shut the air off. That's
okay. Okay.
Thank you.
It's good to be the mayor, right? See? Executive powers.
You just answered my question. I can sit down.
Great. Next question.
Northeast Queens is a community with a large number of civil servants as residents. We are overburdened with the incredibly high real estate taxes. Many of these civil servants recently ratified contracts that gave them cost of living increases spread out over 10 years with retro payments and final raises to be implemented in 2020. Never mind the insulting 1% offer to the NYPD, the very people charged with protecting us. Now, these residents feel that your approval of a 32% pay hike against the Commission's recommendations and effective immediately for the City Council was a direct insult on everyone, on an already overburdened community. Our property taxes are through the roof, and there's nothing tangible to show for it. We have an onslaught of helicopter traffic that disrupts and is destroying the quality of life for a lot of our communities. We have an EDC that refuses to do anything about it, and they're, if I'm not mistaken, the ones that own the heliports in the city. We have snowfalls, sorry, I knew you knew that was coming, that leave our borough crippled and unplowed for days. Zoning changes and variances that are taking away the very reasons why many of us, if not all, invested in these communities.
Now, wait a minute, Alfredo, to be fair,
yes.
I'd like to have this, you're hitting about 18 topics.
I know, I'm sorry. But my question is basically...
Give me the one that you really want to know.
There you go. What do you say? What do you want to say to these residents with these concerns? I mean, just basic open and...
You got about an hour?
Yeah, I got plenty to say. Let me separate the different pieces of what you're raising. First of all, the question is, are we protecting the quality of life in the community and making the city strong for the long term? I'm very proud of the things we are investing the people's money in. We're going to have 2,000 more police officers on the street. I think that's a good investment of money. Wait, not debate club, my friend. I listened very nicely to you. Okay? So we make a series of choices with the City Council of what's going to keep this city strong for the long term. I think pre-K was about making this city strong. So we made a series of choices. I'm proud of it, and I actually think it's about improving the quality of life and preserving the quality of life. Point one. Point two, very proud of the fact that we have 95% of our employees under contract in this city. When I started, it was 0. And I think that shows respect for working people. But I did it in a way that was fair to the working people, but also protected the taxpayers' long-term interest, because it had to be affordable, because I had to make sure we would never fall into a fiscal crisis as happened in the past. Okay. Now, I will speak right to you on the question of the pay level of city council members. There was a commission. It was led by people who were objective, had nothing to do with the city council. They said, look, it had been a decade. They looked at what the council members did, and they said between the fact it had been a decade, the fact the council has much more responsibility than it used to, but most importantly, the fact that the city council said up front that they would end all of the outside income, which I think was a thing that the public did not want to see from elected officials anymore. They want their elected officials to be full-time. No conflicts, no outside income, right? Okay, and they said, so they're going to do that. They were going to end the practice of getting special compensation if you were a committee chair, all that stuff, some reforms that people have been working on for decades. And I will say about Paul, this is literally a 7-day-a-week job. It can happen obviously it's the evening he's working. I assure you he's working in the morning. I assure you he's working in the afternoon. And something can come up at any hour. It's not like a typical 9 to 5, to say the least. And on top of that, he represents almost 160,000 people. Now, I was a city councilman in Brooklyn. You have an obligation to each of those 160,000 people. Any one of them can walk up to you and rightfully demand follow-up on any kind of issue. And he does that. So I think what was put through, which I signed, was fair, because we're asking a lot of him. And I think what we've tried to do across the board with labor is respectful and fair. So that's 2 points. But I think the essential point that you're raising, if I hear it correctly, is, are we going to do what's right for the quality of life of the community? Are we going to spend the public's money right? I think we are. I'm happy to talk to anyone about that, because I think we're making the investments we need. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, Mr. Mayor, we spoke about some good things, especially we have a Commissioner Trautenberg here, about the helicopter issue. So I think that came up. So
yes, I forgot that.
See?
I'm going back.
I helped you out.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
There you go.
Okay. Now, we spoke, Paul and Melinda and I were speaking earlier about the helicopter issue. Now, I feel the same thing I bet you do about when I hear a helicopter near over my house. My house in Brooklyn is not that far from the Gowanus Expressway, and every time there's a crash on the Gowanus Expressway, every news helicopter and PD helicopter were overhead simultaneously. And I didn't need to turn on the TV to know there was a crash because I could hear the helicopters. So I know that feeling. We looked at a problem that was affecting Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, which was the tourist helicopters. We decided that we had to greatly reduce those flights, and we just achieved a new arrangement that's going to be a 50% reduction in all those tourist helicopter flights. Now, that was not done in the past. We said the needs of the residents was more important than any other consideration. Here, there's a growing problem, and we need to work with the community, work with the FAA, et cetera, to see if there's some way. Now, again, FAA controls the routes. I wish I did, but they do. But we can work with the community. We can raise the concerns. We can make noise to try and get better routes. Polly Trottenberg, you know a lot about this, so I'm going to point to who I've already assigned. Polly Trottenberg was the Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Department of Transportation, so she knows a lot about this issue. She will be my point person as we try and see if we can get a better deal for this community. Take it away, Polly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually did have experience at U.S. DOT on the helicopter issue when it involved Senator Schumer and the rerouting of the flights over Long Island. So it's something I'm knowledgeable about, and we'll sit down and talk to you all how we can work with the congressional delegation and the FAA and see what we can do for this community.
And I was there when I heard the mayor appoint her to take care of this outfit, so we have good work on that. All right, so maybe in this section, some questions here? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Lamar Hughes. I am a teacher in District 25. I've been a teacher for 15 years, and the past 7 have been in 25. I don't have a question as much as I do have a statement that I'd like to just take an opportunity to make. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for what you've done in regards to education the past couple of years. So prior to your term in office, there was a different climate that existed amongst teachers, amongst the relationship between teachers and community, teachers and administration in schools. And what we're starting to see, or what we've seen from yourself, from Chancellor Farina, from our union representatives, is a strong sense of collaboration that over the last couple of years have really funneled into the school level. You know, teachers have a lot more confidence, if you will, in walking to administrators and saying their ideas. Union representatives and superintendents and such collaborate together, and we come up with ideas and we come up with plans and we put our heads together to make curriculum work better for the children in our community. It's, you know, as the phrase goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, but the blueprint looks a lot better now than what it did 12 years, or the prior 12 years, sorry.
Thank you.
So I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of teachers here, on behalf of teachers, my colleagues, and thanks very much for what you're doing for education.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to thank our superintendents who are a big part of making that change, and we appreciate their efforts every day. I want to thank everyone, teachers. I'll be very quick because we got a lot of questions, but I got to respond to this very personally. The reason I have the appreciation I have for teachers is that the 2 most precious people in my life, my daughter Kiara, my son Dante, from pre-K through 12th grade were taught by New York City public school teachers. And they took care of them. They took care of my kids. They supported them. They helped them to become strong. They helped them get ready for life. And I could name any number of teachers who played a crucial role in our lives. Now, I don't understand anybody who's a leader, who's an elected leader, who puts down teachers. It makes no sense to me. It's morally wrong. It's counterproductive, but it happened for a long time. So I can tell you from firsthand experience that this city gains in so many ways, and our future will be determined by our public schools, and that means by our public school teachers. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. In that vicinity, we have our UFT reps. So I see Joe Kessler from District 25 and Mary Vaccaro from District 26. Joe has managed to put, yes, I see hands waving in all areas. Yes, Joe has managed to put a 4th grade basketball tournament, 5th grade basketball, so you have time's flying by already, for all of our public schools, and it's one of the greatest events. So thank you very much. We've been joined by one of my colleagues Where's Councilmember Barry Gudenchik? Barry, our newest council member, right to our east a little bit, we'll still our south. Thank you for making it, Barry. If you have any questions from that neck of the woods, Barry's going to stay around. So, and yes, in this area, you have all hands are pointing to you, Susan. So you're stuck.
Hi, I'm Susan from Flushing. I'm going to turn the topic back to noise for a minute. I just have a question. Why has the city taken a back seat on the airplane noise and pollution issue? Because the city owns the land on which the airports are situated and has a responsibility to its residents to protect them. Like this part of Queens has gone hit especially hard the past few years, and where I am near downtown Flushing, it's been absolutely horrendous. So I'd like to see just a more proactive stance from the mayor and from the city council on this very important quality of life issue.
No, I appreciate it. And so look, the straight talk point is, there's the city, there's the Port Authority, there's the FAA. I am not one of the people who's like, oh, go talk to them. I don't like that. I've been very clear anywhere I've worked in public life, don't tell someone to go off to another agency. We have to do everything we can do. So long as we're clear that we don't get to do everything we want, the question is exactly like you said. What can we do to fix it? What impact can we have? So I don't like it when a community feels afflicted by noise, especially if there's any other alternative. I don't know enough about the reality of the different runways and what I just can't tell you I have expertise in that. But on the helicopters, as I said, we found some success doing something different with the helicopters, which gives me some hope there might be some kind of solution there. And our transportation commissioner will follow up on that. But we'll also look at the airport question in general and see if there's any way we can make a positive impact for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so back here. So Michael Feiner, our president of the Bayside Terrace Association area, Bayside in the house.
Hi there,
Okay,
Bayside Hills Civic Association, Michael Feiner. Thank you so much. First of all, welcome to the community, and thank you, Paul and Ed, and my cronies from my fellow civic associations over there.
Not the cronies, I mean, come on.
We're delighted that you're in this neck of the woods. We're reaching out and coming over here to Bayside, in Bayside Hills, where we live further to the north, to the south. Anyway, my question has to do with buildings and McMansions and zoning. And we have a problem over where we live in Bayside, which leads to a question that was sent to me by one of my zoning experts. And here's the question. How do we introduce a zoning text amendment stating that when a semi-attached or attached home is replaced for any reason, fire, natural disaster, unsafe, or just run down, the new building must be the exact same style and size and must be identical in architectural character as the house it replaces? Why do we have to have an attached house and all of a sudden next to it a monstrosity? Why can't we do something to the zoning laws and introduce zoning laws to stop things like that?
I'll start, and our colleague from City Planning may want to add. Look, I want to be straightforward about the fact that we don't have a plan right now to do that. You're raising a very fair concern. My house is attached on one side, unattached on the other. And you're right, I can only imagine if something very, very different, it would be upsetting to me, it would be upsetting to my neighbors. But I want to be real about the fact that there's a lot of things we're working on right now, and the primary focus is on things like creating senior housing, and that's where a lot of the energy is going. I think you're asking a perfectly fair question, so what I would say is City Planning Commission should look at what we can do to help protect neighborhood quality, but I don't want to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to promise you a rose garden here and say it'll be easy or that we will get to the point where we decide it's the right policy, but I think you are right that we should look at it. What do you want to add?
Good evening, and I just want to say that we certainly want to work with all the community residents here to maintain the quality of life of the neighborhoods that they so deeply cherish. Our office is available at any point. If you want to understand more about zoning, we know it's very complicated. We want you to come down to Borough Hall or just give us a call. I'm going to give you our general office number if you have any zoning concerns. That's 718-520-2100, and we'll try to direct you to the planner working in your area. I want to say we've worked so hard over the past decade with many of the civic groups in this room, certainly the two community boards, to look at zoning on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. And we have tried our best to look at how we can have zoning address the neighborhood on almost a block by block basis to reflect the style of buildings. We have rezoned 10 neighborhoods from Little Neck to College Point, 1,600 blocks, to in each neighborhood try to find a 1 or 2 family zoning pattern that would protect the quality of life. Zoning is complicated. We may not have done the perfect fit for each block. So that's why it's important to hear from the neighborhoods where those out of character buildings, and that's what we call them, are occurring. And we'll do our best. As we say, we have a heavy housing agenda right now. We have to focus because we need to make sure that there's going to be opportunities for New Yorkers of all income levels to find a community where they can live. But in your neighborhoods, where we can, we want to make sure zoning is in place to protect the quality of life.
And let me just pick up on one other point on that. Because what we believe in when it comes to affordable housing, again, the seniors are a big piece of the equation. But think about what's going on today in this city. You could have 2 members of a couple. One, let's say, is a nurse. The other is a police officer, or fill in the blank any way you want. One is a teacher, another is a firefighter. And even with 2 incomes, 2 good public sector incomes, people are struggling to stay in this city. So when we talk about affordable housing, we're talking about everything from a senior citizen on a fixed income to a couple that works for the city and works in public service but is still struggling to hang on here. That's what our focus is right now, because I can tell you, having gone all over the city, that is the concern, the number one concern I hear by far all over the city is people worried that they're not going to be able to live in the city and afford the city anymore. That's what we're focused on. But to your point, we're always going to look at how we can protect the quality of neighborhood life, and I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Hey, Michael, that brings up a good spot to bring up our community boards, because we have 2 amazing community boards in this district. Community Board 11, we have Susan Seinfeld and Christine Hayter we have here. And Community Board 7, I see Chuck Appeal here, our vice chair, but is Gene Kelty and Marilyn Bitterman here too? But Chuck, there we are. There's Marilyn Bitterman right in front of me. Thank you, Marilyn. So, and I would think, Mike, that would be a great place to bring those to requests. And our council office has followed 100% of the time our community board's requests. So you get those to us and we start the process. Before we go to the next section, over here is a question in the back.
Ouch, my knee.
Your knee. I can't help you with that, but.
Oh, I don't need a microphone, really. First, I'd like to welcome you, Mayor, to our community. We have very few problems here. It's a really nice community. And I also have regards to you from your friend and mine, Norman Siegel. In 1992, Norman and I worked with 600 mentally ill and their families and stopped traffic on Broadway in Manhattan. The reason we did that is that Governor Mario Cuomo closed down psychiatric hospitals and put the mentally ill in the streets with no community services. I'm sure you're aware of that. For 22 years, over 15 psychiatric hospitals have been languishing without anybody in them. We have children living in cars that are going to schools with shame. We have mentally ill walking our streets with no community services. I did my research and saw a lot of these psychiatric hospitals. They look like apartment buildings. I don't know why the city doesn't work with this Cuomo and work to open up these psychiatric hospitals, and there will be no NIMBYs, no not in my backyards, because these hospitals are in Greenland. They're surrounded by trees and grass. You won't have any residents complaining. You can make them apartments, 1-room apartments, put a TV in there, put the mentally challenged there, give them community services, clinical services, give them a TV and make them feel like they're part of our society. They don't want to go to the shelters. I went undercover 12 years ago as a battered woman, and it was just horrible. I told them that I was 85 years old and that my son came home high and was trying to beat me up. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. They told me to go to the Bronx. I said, but There's no transportation. Well, you have to take a bus and then take the train. I said, but I have a walker. Well, you have to take the bus and take the train to the Bronx. That's no way to treat us. But I'm wondering if you would be willing now to sit down with Andrew Cuomo and talk about just trying one psychiatric hospital where you can take the mentally ill, the mentally challenged, or families with kids that don't want to live in cars, and make these rooms, put in a sink, a TV, no bars, and let them come and go. And I know there's a law against them taking drugs. I know you can't force them. That law has to change because people are getting slashed every day.
Well, let's give the mayor a chance to answer you.
Tell me your first name again.
My name is Joyce Shepard.
Joyce?
Yes.
Joyce, thank you. Joyce, first of all, thank you. You know your history, and I appreciate that. Yes, of course, I'd be willing to talk to the governor and anyone else at the state about any place that could help us address the issues of people with mental health challenges and the homeless. Here's what's really the truth, and you hit the nail on the head. For decades, we haven't addressed the issue. And so all those folks were in mental institutions, and at the time, there was a lot of outcry because a lot of those institutions weren't treating people properly, and that was a real outcry and perfectly fair. But what happened was no alternative was created, so people ended up, as you said, on the streets in too many cases. So instead of having an actual mental health system, and this is true in New York City, it's true all over the country. Instead of an actual mental health system, we ended up with two things. We ended up with homeless folks, and we ended up with people in Rikers Island. And those were the replacement, and not a good replacement, not an acceptable replacement, but that's what really happened. And it went on for decades. We are trying to change that. It will not be easy. My wife, Charlene, has led an effort to create an actual mental health system and a mental health policy for the whole city, something we just haven't had. You know, my wife always says, and I think it's very pertinent to your question, she always says, if you had a broken leg, no one would think there was something wrong with you. You'd know where to go to the hospital or the doctor, and there'd be a plan. Here's your insurance, and you know, everyone knows what to do. If you have a mental health issue, first of all, a lot of people are going to treat you like there's something wrong with you, even though it's no different than the broken leg. It's just a reality that happens to be part of your life because mental health problems we're born with, and they emerge in our lives. And there's a stigma, exactly right. So we are trying to break down that stigma, to make mental health services as available. It will take a long time, but the goal is to make them as available, as normal as what we do when it comes to our physical health, because that's part of how we change that cycle. To make sure that people do not end up on the street. By the way, to identify in children and young people the problems that were ignored in so many cases for decades and led to homelessness and incarceration and other social ills. So we're trying to change it at the root. But I think your suggestion is a very fair one. If there's any place in this city that we could use, including something currently owned by the state, that would help us serve people with mental health problems and help us serve the homeless, of course, I would have that conversation anytime, anywhere. Well, I'm going to follow up, and I thank you for the suggestion very much, Joyce.
All right. How about on this side here? Right in front of me. Mr. Silverstein.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming. My name is Matthew Silverstein. I'm the Vice President of the Bay Terrace Community Lens. And we're here a few, less than a mile away from Fort Totten Park. And I guess my question is that under the previous mayor, he had promised to give us funding for Fort Totten and to transform it from a military base into a park. It's been now more than a decade. It took a decade for the Parks Department to build a bathroom, which I think was just deplorable. And it's been a very long time, and the park is not finished. And it's a beautiful park. Film crews are there filming every day. Gotham, the Americans were there last week. Everyone's coming there. And we would like to see this park finally finished. So my question is, what can we do to work with you and the Parks Commissioner so that Fort Totten finally becomes the beautiful park that it should be?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. So, Commissioner, you will give the update because you will know more than I do.
Well, first, the comfort station at Little Bay, Fort Totten, is now open. It opened about a month ago, if you didn't know that. In terms of the timeline, the good news is, going forward, we have now improved our on-time on construction. When I arrived here in 2014, it was 74% on time and 73% on time, 74% on budget. I'm proud to say this year, because of all of staff's hard work, it is now on time 93% and on budget 98%. So within 2 years, we're able to turn around. We have a beautiful park that has a number of assets there. Besides the views, we have our urban park rangers there. We have our natural resource group there, as well as all the other amenities. But in terms of the timeline, we want to be more realistic. When we proposed a brand new comfort station, there was no utility connection to provide water. That took many years. Then we found out there wasn't adequate funding by the time we put it out to bid. Then there was soil contamination. And so we now, because of the mayor, gave us over $1 million of site investigation. So before we start a project, we could determine all the problems up front so we don't have these years of delay. And the numbers I share with you, the percentages, are showing how we're doing it faster and quicker in all our capital projects across the board. So Fort Totten is a wonderful asset to this community, and we look forward to work with you and Commissioner Lewandowski to make sure Fort Totten could be the best park possible for this community.
No.
And Councilmember Vallone also met with me and had lots of ideas about how we could enhance it further.
So wait, so I'm going to be your lawyer now, okay? So, okay, that's good. We commend you. We commend you for your improvement on time, on budget. But Mitch, give us a sense of the next milestone. People have waited a long time. I know it's not easy. I know there's always a lot to do. But give us a sense of when we'll see the next step of progress.
Well, in terms of some of the capital projects, that is something that's an ongoing relationship we have both with the borough president and the city council, and also when we look at the budget with you, the mayor. So we'll see exactly what other enhancements we could make to that location. I do know in terms of the running track or the fields. Yes. We just had a meeting about a month ago. There'll be some soccer fields. There'll be synthetic turf that'll be going out there for both football and soccer. And that should be a few years, but there was just a decision. There was a shortfall in some funding, and now that's the next project will be going forward. So it'll be an opportunity for the leagues, for both soccer and football at that location.
All right. Well, Fort Totten is one of those examples of us all working together on it, because you have fire, you have Army Corps of Engineers, you have police department, you have parks there, you have Friends of Fort Totten, we have the Bayside Historical Society, everything's going on there. So the good thing is we do have fireworks now over at Fort Totten, so that's a heck of a show. We had 10,000 people there last. Right, and our Queens Commissioner, Dottie Lewandowski, has been a great partner with all our parks. Thank you very much. Now we've got some kids in the audience, and we love to hear from our kids. And my principal's pointing me to these children over here. So let's hear from, what do we have, Belle or 169? Belle's gonna do some questions. You have a question for us? Our super kids from Belle and David Abbott. I see our principal there. Go ahead, it's all for you.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Firal Delgado, and I'm an 8th grade student at Bell Academy. And I just wanted to mention the concern that there are no animal shelters in our borough. And, well, I want to know, are there any plans for an animal shelter in Queens?
Wait, no, don't you have an event also, too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. See, I have to help you out. So when is that? What are you guys taking upon yourselves?
Well, we're having it on May 7th at our schoolyard, and
Hold up that flyer.
it says
There it is.
animals, pets
So-
to take home.
So you guys reached out, and now Animal Care and Control has a mobile adoption unit coming, right? I'm filling in the blanks. So the mobile unit's coming when? May 7th?
May 7th.
So everyone here can adopt a very much needed pet, right? So you guys are taking that on. So that's a big round of applause for you guys doing that all on your own.
Well, first of all, I want to say to all the kids from Bell that you and 169, don't leave out 169.
Oh, yeah,
over
Tish is bringing them up.
Okay, they're going to get them next. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so involved in the community. This is another great example, and it's inspiring. You know, sometimes people don't give young people their credit, but you are trying to do something good to help everyone. And the answer is yes. We believe that there needs to be an animal shelter in Queens, and we are moving forward on that.
All right. And we have the students from 169 right behind us.
Have a rep, and he's the rep, and then they want to take a picture, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Wow, and they have an agent, I see.
Young lawyers and young advocates.
They want to thank the Academy and
Are you going to open up like community recycling things?
Ooh, good question. Wait, what's your name? You have to tell us your name.
Christina,
Christina, how old are you?
9.
Wow, I'm impressed. So our sanitation commissioner is going to help me speak to this. Christina, it's a great question. So you know what? We need a lot more recycling in this city because we want to protect the earth for all of you, and we want this place to be cleaner. And there's a lot more recycling we can do, and we're going to make it easier. One of the things that Commissioner Garcia will talk about is we're going to make recycling easier. Now, again, I am a homeowner. Well, I was a homeowner until they transferred me to public housing at Gracie Mansion, but but I'm still a homeowner. I'll be back to it. And you know, the metals, the glass, the paper, the plastics. So we have a new approach coming soon, pretty soon, where we're going to be able to do that much easier, and we're going to be recycling composting also. So let me have our Commissioner, Catherine Garcia, tell you about that.
So we're hoping that you will be our advocates for environmental sustainability going forward, because we also have a very large partnership with the Department of Education to do recycling education so that you can teach your parents to do the right thing. But as the mayor said, we do have a plan to drive zero waste to landfills by 2030. Trust me when I tell this to the sanitation workers, they think I'm more crazy than anyone here. But there are really some components about it that are pretty straightforward. About a third of everything you throw away is yard and food waste. So we are bringing curbside composting to Queens relatively shortly. Queens 10 got it this past fall, and they are enjoying it very much, I hear. And then we are also going to make it easier to do the traditional recycling programs, which is putting metal, glass, plastic, cartons, and paper in one bin. We're not there yet. We have some capital work we have to do, but we think we will be there in the next few years so that you can do more. You're at about 20% right now on your diversion rate, so we're hoping to see that go up.
So what can some of the students do to help out now?
Well, teach your parents and do the right thing in your schools. All of your schools recycle. Correct? You have metal, you have blue bins, and you have green bins. So you can be doing the right thing in your classroom and in your cafeteria.
All right. I think they get a picture for that, Mayor. I think they
I'll take a picture with them. I would be honored to have a picture with them. Don't these young people make you feel good, and aren't they inspiring? Sure, come on over. Let's give them even more applause. Come on, let's really thank them.
Champions. Come on, Bell Academy, too. Come on, Bell. Our two principals? No? Come on, we want Vanessa and David. Somebody take a tweet for these. Come on, kid. Your advocate is coming.
What camera do you look at?
Right, look in the middle.
We'll start here. Why don't you take a knee? Take a knee, bros. Yeah, you're too. And there we go.
All right. Back to the town hall meeting.
And back to our regularly scheduled town hall meeting.
Oh, thank you so much.
Very much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, kids. You guys are amazing.
Mayor, thank you so much.
So, in the back.
We resume our normally scheduled town hall meeting.
In the glasses there, I see in the back with the black hair. Go ahead. Look at her. I see. Hang in there. Everyone's trying for 10 minutes.
Keep your hand up. He'll see.
Oh, right behind you. Get your mic
out for her when you get a chance.
Can we just get you next?
Get your seat. He'll look for you.
Sit right next to Warren Schreiber. There's a seat right there.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm a pre-K teacher.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach pre-K this year. I love doing my job, and what a great age it is. In my building, I've been teaching for 9 years, and it feels so good to do this job again under your administration.
Thank you.
There's also a lot of new teachers in my building, and for the first time in a long time, I'm hearing people say, I want to do this job, I want to stay doing this job, and new people are coming. My question is, what measures are you going to take to get people into this profession again and keep them?
Thank you. It's a great question. This is one of the most important questions. In terms of the future of this city, this is one of the single most important questions, and I thank you. How are we going to attract the very best teachers and then keep the teachers we have for the long haul? Because nothing will have a bigger impact. It's been proven many times over. The single biggest determinant of the quality of a school and the quality of a kid's education is the quality of their teacher. So in the past, unfortunately, it was a discouraging atmosphere. We've changed a number of things. First of all, we're putting a heavy emphasis on professional development. Professionals, people who are respected as professionals, are constantly developed. You know, the Mets spend a lot on player development, right? Why shouldn't we spend a lot on professional development for teachers or police officers or any other of the key professionals that we turn to? So a lot more, as you know, time and resources being put into professional development, a lot more advancement opportunities. We got rid of the previous approach, the Leadership Academy, the way it was before, because we want to emphasize our own homegrown talent working their way up to whatever level they want to reach. And we think there's nothing that prepares you better for leadership in a New York City public school than having been a teacher in a New York City public school. So it's more support, more development, the kind of resources that will improve the whole school system. We're putting a lot into creating more school seats and other things that will help the school atmosphere. But I think it's a combination of those pieces. And I've also heard from a lot of teachers that with pre-K now as a foundation, basically we added a whole new grade, we have a lot more kids who are going to be able to succeed. And that's very, I don't have to tell you, one of the most rewarding things for a teacher is seeing that child have a breakthrough and move forward. We want to give you the foundation to succeed more often. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Ashley, I just want to tell you that I promise you are the next question, that when it comes to the most fulfilling part of my job on a city council level is going into every school in these two amazing districts. I have been in every school in 25 and 26 on numerous occasions just to talk to the kids, just to go around, not on the big events. And these kids, just like you saw tonight, give you the energy, give you the passion unconditionally. And so much of that comes from our teachers and our principals and everyone that, and our parents that fight for our schools out here. And I really want to thank all of our educators and our superintendents for what you've done. Now, yes, my dear, you moved yourself up right to the front. And a microphone is waiting for you.
May I ask you, please, what is the city doing to expand transportation so more people will have the same opportunity I have coming to and from the center? This is a wonderful world for me, and more people should have this world.
So transportation to and from the senior center,
Yes.
or just transportation in general?
Transportation to and from the senior
The senior center, okay. Donna, you want to take that? Or Polly, who has a sense of that? And whatever the truth is, Donna, look at the look on your face. If we don't have a plan, we can say that. If we have one, we have one.
We actually do have a plan to expand transportation services, and there's currently an RFP that's out right now. And also, in using transportation, and Commissioner Trottenberg's looking at me because we just, with your department, drawing down some federal funds to do something new and different using point-to-point transportation. So that, I can't speak too much about it because that proposal is out there right now, but it's something that we're looking to do.
Wait. Tell us about the specific RFP that's out, what the goal of it is, and how much it might cover.
The goal is to try innovative ways to transport seniors to senior centers and to wherever they need to go in the community. And it's not a paratransit system per se. The Department for the Aging's transit system is very, very small relative to Access-a-Ride and the MTA. But within that realm, we're trying to expand that service.
I can just say a little bit more on that. In addition, again, as Donna was mentioning, the Access-a-Ride, the MTA service that's available to seniors and folks with disabilities, the federal government is now increasingly encouraging cities and states to look at how can we make better use of Uber and all the new technologies that are out there. And they're looking to help cities figure out how we can make better use of those for seniors and for others. So that's part of the work we're going to be doing. Correct.
One.
Thank you.
And some of the short-term things we're doing is at least our office is directly funding some of the groups that are expanding transportation, like the Samuel Field Y is expanding their transportation back and forth to Clearview Gardens. We're bringing extra funds in transportation right here at CAP, at Hannock in College Point. Now they're going places they've never gone before, and they're very excited. The happiest group of seniors I've seen down at College Point. We're going everywhere in the vans. So it's always expanding those new ideas. And I think it also brings in participatory budgeting that we do so well together, where you spend your tax dollars. And that's a great partnership that we've put together, where through the mayor's allocation of the capital funding to the council members, we then have participatory budgeting, which is happening at the end of this month. The kids were great because 16-year-olds can vote. Bayside High School, World Journalism got involved with that. So remember, and that would be good ideas for next year's participatory budgeting, is to allocate funding specifically for senior pickup and drop-off locations. I think that would be a great spot for next year. All right, thank you. In the back, anyone back there? Way in the back. Yeah, we got Joe Femini, College Point Civic Association.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Vallone. Well,
You got a mic there, Joe.
yeah. Okay, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Vallone, and Borough President Katz. First, I want to thank the Borough President and the councilman for starting working on McNeil Park. Been dying need for decades. Secondly, we have your police academy there, and one of the biggest issues is, of course, our roadways. Besides you're digging them up to put the plumbing in the sewer works and stuff like that. I believe you visited, I drive all through all the boroughs every day, and one of the worst roads I've ever seen is Ulmer Street. That's right there by the police academy. It's got the pipes sticking up and the road collapsed. Also 28th Avenue. That's one of the things, if we could do anything about that, it'd be great. It's been like that for over 10 years.
All right. Well, I'm very glad you told me. I did visit, but I didn't realize that street was as bad as it was. So I'm looming over the transportation commissioner now.
She's in the hot seat
because
today.
I don't think that's the kind of street that should be in that condition, because we depend on it so much for the training of our police.
All right, well,
don't you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. You are looming over me, Mr. Mayor. I too have been to that neighborhood and seen that street. And look, I think as some of you know, that's a particularly strange street. What happened there was the sewers were built with wooden supports, and the wooden piles are rotting away. And so you're having all kinds of sinking happening. We've done a lot of adding more asphalt, which has actually unfortunately made the condition even worse in an effort to fix it. And the pipes are sticking up. So it's a very, one of the most unusual streets in the city. And certainly I think there are a lot of other roadway issues here in Northeast Queens.
So what are we going to do about that one, though?
Well, you mentioned your budget and your capital plan. I think we're in a dialogue, and certainly Councilmember Vallone has been a big advocate for a lot of the roadway conditions we see in this area. And so I think we're in discussion right now. We in DOT, I think, have identified some work. Some of it would have to be done with DP.
So we don't have a current plan.
Well, I think we have a plan, but I think we're still working through how potentially we would come up with the city funds for it, because the work is expensive. This is in the tens of millions to do some of the work in this area.
You couldn't give me a cheap street with a problem. You had to give me the one with the tens of millions of dollars. All right, we'll follow up on that.
Mayor's telling me to hit the sides, so way in the back.
Mayor and Paul Vallone, thank you. I've been afforded the opportunity to live in this residence for 28 years. Raise children, have a nice family, do the union construction work. In your affordable housing plan, is there any kind of thing that you're doing to ensure that the workers and the construction being performed is going to be reasonably decent for a middle-class working person?
So what I want, as I mentioned to you, we have 95% of all of our city employees now under contract, because I believe in the role of labor in our society, and I'm trying to make sure our public employees are treated the way they should be. I want to see union labor in construction, whether it's private market or public. We've had an extraordinary number of project labor agreements we've struck. since I came into office that guarantee union construction. And I'd like to see that also for affordable housing. But here's my problem, and I've been very public about it. For affordable housing, I've got to be able to afford to create the maximum amount of affordable housing for the people of the city, working people of all kinds, every kind of people, seniors. I think we could do that with union labor. We're going to have to find a creative approach. And by the way, I've talked to labor about this for years. I think for affordable housing, there is an acceptable way to find a B rate or some kind of accommodation that allows us to use union labor. Some people agree with that in the labor movement, some people don't. But I think for affordable housing, because the experience you've had, the experience I've had, to be able to afford to live in this city was very different when we were coming up than the experience people are having today. If we don't create a lot more affordable housing, a huge number of people will be forced out. So we got to solve that problem. I think there is a way to do it with union labor if we find a creative way together.
All right, I think one of our other students, Angela, do you have a question you wanted to ask the mayor? You have to go back to school, Bob. Students first.
Hi, Bill de Blasio. Angelo Coniglio.
Been adopted by Tish, by the way, as much as the parents are trying to hang on to Angela.
I would like to ask you about College Point, about the College Point Sports Complex.
College Point Sports Complex.
Is there going to be any plans for it? Because I would say I think we need a new soccer field.
All right. Thank you, Angelo.
Good job, Angelo.
So I'm going to turn to our Parks Commissioner. Angelo, I appreciate the question. And I can say it, now my son Dante is into soccer. He wasn't so much when he was younger. But my kids did baseball and softball, and they did basketball, and they did a lot of other sports, and it's incredibly important for kids to have sports. And I was a Little League coach for a while, and that built character, let me tell you. So,
I'm
we
still
want to see what
coaching
we
two
can do.
soccer teams, I'll have you know.
You're a strong man.
Still coach.
I had the 8-year-olds in Little League. They did not listen to my instructions. I
Yeah,
just
you
want
gotta
you
go
to know that. So we're going to have Angelo, we're going to have our Parks Commissioner talk about what we're trying to do.
Well, first, let me clarify my other point about Little Bay, about what's going on there, then I'll answer your direct question. In terms of Little Bay, there is special needs play equipment that's going in. It should be completed by spring of 2017, and that there'll be the soccer fields, not soccer and football, but at Little Bay is $1.6 million to upgrade the soccer fields, and that's at the Little Bay Park. So that's what's going to happen, is breaking ground construction next month.
You're very welcome, Commissioner. I came right out of my budget. Thank you.
Okay.
Very much.
And part of that was participatory budgeting on the special play equipment. Your specific question is that, yes, there was just a meeting not too long ago with the council member, and right now we're looking to do soccer as well as football. That is a location at the College Point Sports Complex. There's still a bit of a budget shortfall, but we're committed to find those dollars so that we could begin to move forward on that project as well. So good news is coming.
See, College Point, I told you. We're working on College Point. Bob, I think you're even going to go back to school to answer this question, just so you can get in with the students.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being here. My name is Bob Friedrich. I am president of Glen Oaks Village. We're actually the largest garden apartment
That's why we
co-op.
brought Barry Gudenchik here, so he could talk.
In New York City, we have 10,000 residents. And I've been fighting along with a lot of my fellow civic leaders here for quality of life issues going back decades. And as you know, property taxes in our affordable co-op, these are not multi-million-dollar Manhattan co-ops. You can buy a co-op for $150,000, $200,000. Our taxes in our small apartments are now higher than your property taxes on your home in Brooklyn that probably could sell for $1 million. A real problem, real inequity there. But since the start of your administration, we're now seeing a lot of the small hotels in the area being turned into homeless shelters. It's happening all over without any community input. And because there's no vetting of substance abuse or mental illness, we're having enormous problems. A lot of the hotels, virtually all of the small hotels, are now being converted to homeless shelters since the start of your administration. In addition to
Wait, you're not going to 6 questions now, because you got co-op tax.
In addition to that, we're finding that they're trying to cite neighborhood prisons on residential streets in New York. We just fought a huge battle about that. Small neighborhood prisons where the ACS would be running, where they're bringing close to home. You know it as the close to home program. And now your inclusionary zoning program is threatening to undo all the hard-won battles that we fought downzoning our communities. So my question to you, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, is how do you respond to what civic leaders like myself perceive as a completely tone-deaf administration to our community concerns?
I think you're wrong. No, that's how I respond. First of all, I don't know why you say that about inclusionary zoning. We're trying to create affordable housing. We're not trying to undo down zonings. We're trying to create affordable housing where it's appropriate and require developers to create affordable housing for people who need it. As I said, that's seniors, that's cops, that's teachers, that's nurses. Do you think we could possibly keep going at the rate we are in this city and not build more affordable housing? So many people would be displaced. So many people who in the history of this city could always find a place to live wouldn't be able to if we don't change things. So inclusionary zoning requires developers to create affordable housing. It does not undermine downzoning. I don't agree with that at all. On the question of the homeless shelters, look, we're very clear. No one wants homeless people on the streets. We want to solve that problem. We want to get people off the streets, into shelter, and then to permanent housing. And once we get people into permanent housing, we're going to need a lot less shelters, which is why the city of New York did something that's never done before. We proposed 15,000 apartments, supportive housing apartments, for people who have mental health challenges, the biggest commitment ever. We have the biggest affordable housing program in the history of the city that's going to get a lot of people also out of things like shelter into affordable housing, because more and more people in shelter right now is just economically got displaced and they need affordable housing. Yes, we do go into hotels when we don't have another option, but we've said we want to get out of the hotels. It's not our long-term choice. I made that very clear. It's a temporary condition, but you're absolutely right. When we have no choice but to go into a building so people are not on the streets, we will go in there. And is there going to be all the notice the community wants? No, I wish there was more. We don't always have that option. But if you say to me, or if the councilman says to me, there's a specific problem we have to deal with at that shelter, we will. If you say there's something that we're not addressing at that shelter, I don't want it to be an inconvenience to the community, and we'll go deal with it. Finally, one last thing on close to home, and then I'll let you follow up. The close to home program is very small. I went over the numbers the other day with the commissioner. It's very small. It's a small number of young people who used to be sent to upstate facilities. It's not the kids with the most serious issues. They still go to upstate facilities. But it is something that has been proven to be working, so I would not call it a prison. That's not a fair statement. Go ahead.
On the homeless shelters, the problem on the homeless shelters that we seem to have, because everybody has a heart. Everybody knows if it's a legitimate family that's really, is having problems. No one's opposed to that. But what it appears to be that there's really virtually no vetting of these homeless residents. And what we're seeing, and we're seeing it all over. I mean, I go to community meetings all the time, that we're seeing that they're not being vetted where you have substance abuse or mental illness. And it's those individuals that are creating the problem. So I think that your administration needs to do at least a better job in vetting the population that's being put into the small hotels in the community.
Look, what we've done in a number of cases, some of the hotels have been for veterans, some have been for families, some have been for single women, some have been for single men, et cetera. There's no question we try to figure out what's the appropriate fit. But I think your point is well taken. If there's any kind of problem, I don't want any of these facilities causing a problem for the community. So you would say vetting. I would say it's more what we do in the facility to make sure we're handling the residents properly. But the bigger decision, the bigger policy, I should say, is to solve the problem. This is a problem that's been going on for decades. Right now, we got 22,000 people in the last 2 years who were in shelter that we have gotten to permanent housing. I want to expand that greatly. We have 91,000 people we served to keep them from falling out of the housing they had. We have the biggest investment ever in legal aid and legal services to keep people from being evicted. So we're trying to get to the root problem. But finally, on your previous point, look, everyone's going to have disagreements. We're New Yorkers, we're going to have disagreements. But my job is to represent all 8.5 million people. I have to respond to people's needs. I would say, and I respect your right to have your opinion, but it is not tone deaf to increase the NYPD by 2,000 officers. That's something I've heard people want in communities all over this city. Okay. It is not tone deaf to give pre-K, full-day pre-K to every child for free. That's for every single neighborhood, and this neighborhood has benefited disproportionately. So disagree, fine. We can have disagreements, but I assume you are looking out for the interests of the people you represent. I'd like you to know I'm looking out for the interests of the people I represent.
All right, so let's switch sides. On this side, right in the front, Kim Cody, our president of the Greater Whitestone Taxpayers Association.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for coming here this evening. Paul, thank you for sponsoring the event. I want to talk about a quality of life issue, which doesn't just affect the community here, but it affects the city of New York. The Speaker of the City Council has brought about the idea of purging over 700,000 active arrest warrants. And she's also talked about decriminalizing quality of life crimes. If you have 700,000 arrest warrants out there and you want to decriminalize these crimes, what makes you think these people are going to show up in court to pay a fine?
So I have great respect for the Speaker of the City Council, Melissa Mark Viverito. I think she's done a fine job. We work with her all the time. That doesn't mean we agree on everything. Now, there is an amount of summons reform we can and should do. That's something we want to do with the NYPD to figure out what that balance is. Because there's some summonses for minor issues that are not necessarily productive to keep open, and there's others that are very productive. The same point can be made on quality of life. I believe in the broken windows approach to policing. I believe, and this is part of why I was honored to bring Bill Bratton back as our police commissioner. Two things he did in the 1990s that if you had eyes to see, you knew worked. CompStat, you were there. CompStat and broken windows policing. Quality of life enforcement. We believe in that. Now, I believe that quality of life enforcement has to be updated all the time. Some people say broken windows is a bad thing. I say, no, it's a good thing, but it has to be updated. For example, with Vision Zero, we're doing more enforcement than we ever did. With some other things, low-level marijuana arrests, we made the decision to do fewer arrests. We do summonses, but we do fewer arrests. We think both of those choices were right. But in terms of anything with quality of life offenses, the Speaker and some members of the Council have a view, and I respect it, but I'm working with NYPD to figure out what's the right balance. One of the things Commissioner Bratton has said is he understands the virtue of having other options than arrest, but that's a different issue than saying something's not a crime. And again, that's what we did with the marijuana. We thought a summons was a better choice than an arrest. We didn't decriminalize, we decided on a different tactic.
And I think that lies our community's deep concern for public safety. I think we have always stood lockstep with our brothers and sisters in the police department, and that's why we have such a great relationship with the 109 and the 111 and all of our PD brothers. I think out here you have that example that the way the mayor does it, which is policy, I believe, is better than legislation. And I think that's the best way to handle it. Let the police department be able to be our protectors and don't handcuff them. Let them allow them to make those decisions without legislation. So that would be one that I would be opposing if that comes up, and that happens, right? We talk about that. There's time where there's pieces of legislation you support, there's times when you don't, and clearly we would be opposed to something like that. So any of my self-help residents, since we're here, that one right here, any, right there with the glasses, I'm being brought back to the left.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening to you, Mayor. No, I have to start all over.
Yeah, you have
again.
to stand
I'm
up so we
sorry.
can see you.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm just cold from the air conditioning, so
We all are.
okay. I live in the Shoria house. My name is Lillian Campo. I'm 85 years young.
Wow.
God bless you.
Congratulations.
And it took me 10 years to get to this wonderful place. I really am happy being here. I lived in this is not a question, by the way. I'm sorry for not saying that first. I lived in an apartment house where I had to climb 2 flights of steps each day. For 11 years, I've had my choice to either take the elevator or the steps. How lucky am I? I love that part very much. Okay. I'm nervous.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Okay. I'm the clown. I'm sorry. Okay, back to business. I'm kind of.
Well, how you transitioned here. So your journey on how you got here.
Yes, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for self-help. And I know there are so many people that live in Queens that are really, really trying to pay their rents, and it's so hard to do these days. And I think if it's possible with more of these self-help buildings going up, I think that would be a wonderful thing for people. I think it's safe, it's happy. In fact, I come down to the lunchroom and I have a wonderful lunch and I meet such beautiful people down here, and it's really, really a beautiful place to live. I'm sorry, this isn't really what I wanted to say, but...
It's good anyway. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't mean it that way. It just didn't come out the right way.
You did great. You did great. And it's nice meeting you. And you are inspiring me, 85 years young.
Thank you.
And what you love about this place, this is what more seniors deserve. That's why we're focusing on affordable housing for seniors so they can enjoy all the things that you enjoy.
It's happy. It's beautiful. Everybody
Thank you.
gets along.
Thank you.
It's a happy family.
Right in this section, we haven't had Janet.
All right, you're coming up. You're coming up.
The fingers are starting to wag. I'm in big trouble out here.
We're coming to you.
You see that? They're starting to go like this.
I know.
Big trouble, Mr. Mayor.
She's tough. We're not going to go against her. Okay.
She promises to be not long, which is...
Hello, I'm Janet McEnany. I am a member of Queens Community Board 11, and I am the president of Queens Quiet Skies, which is an aviation-focused community advocacy group that started here in Bayside and has grown all over northern Queens. So I have two very short questions, because Alfredo got to ask 8. So
yeah, I noticed.
My first is about the Economic Development Corporation and in relationship to our aviation problems, which are noise and pollution problems, which were caused by, starting in 2012, increasing aviation to increase what the FAA likes to call the operational efficiency, but it really means making more money for the airlines. And, we're okay with that as long as we're not paying for it. But here on the ground, we are paying for it. And so my question is, why does the Economic Development Corporation, the aviation person, David Hopkins, from the EDC, why is he a member of the board of the Global Gateway Alliance, which is a private industry organization that was created to give us more noise and pollution in this neighborhood? And we are very offended by that. And I would like to be able to talk to the people at EDC on behalf of our many, many members about that conflict, what we see as a big conflict.
I appreciate it. So this is the first time hearing it, and I'm not going to prejudge, but you have a right to that meeting. And so if Maria Torres Springer will stand up, that is the president of the Economic Development Corporation.
Okay, we'll talk.
So she is the top of the whole thing, and you will get a meeting with her directly.
Great. Second, really quick, okay?
Yes.
School Construction Authority.
Yes.
We have not had a productive relationship with them in this neighborhood. And some of the things that have happened when they came in here to start building schools have been real shockers and eye-openers. The way they operate, the fact that they use eminent domain as a negotiating tool with property owners, many, many things that we have learned about them. And that, I think, is also something that we really need to shine a light on before the SCA tries to come back to our district to build another school.
Well, let me offer on that one. I will pledge to you that we really want to listen and work with the community, and the councilman will be our guarantor in that process. I also will pledge to you that we need more school space. So there's a problem and a challenge. Let's be real about it. We need more school space. It's something a lot of parents, understandably, want the space. They want near their homes. They want less overcrowded schools, etc. We can work with communities. I really believe you can find the balance point. But I want to be honest, and I guess just finished in June being a public school parent. If people say no school anywhere, I'm going to look them in the eye and say that's not the right way to look at things, because our kids are the future and we've got to make sure our kids have the right facilities. So we will work with the councilman to find a better way with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, where it happened to my finger wagging scene? Yes, she is.
Okay. I think I forgot what I was going to ask.
That was my plan all along.
Was that good?
However, you have been talking about affordable housing. And I was just wondering about that as I did read an article in today's Times about affordable housing between the city and the state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was just wondering if you could comment on the affordable housing and what Cuomo's ideas may be and how they match up with yours.
So we have the biggest affordable housing plan in the history of this city and any city, 200,000 apartments. 120,000 apartments would be preserved, meaning places people live right now, we would provide the resources so people could stay there, and they would pay no more than 30% of their income for the housing. We're going to build 80,000 new apartments all over the city. And again, some will be for seniors, some will be for working people. As I said, it could be a teacher and a cop, for example. Some will be for folks on fixed incomes. We're going to do a variety. The state proposed recently, the governor proposed a plan that we think will slow down the creation of affordable housing. So I've said very clearly, we do not believe that plan should proceed. We're happy to work with the state on affordable housing in lots of different ways. But the plan you read about, I think, would actually make it slower and more complicated. I've made clear I think we can do better than that. I know the State Assembly shares that view strongly and does not want to see anything that would slow down the creation of affordable housing. In fact, the plan I'm pushing now in the City Council is to speed up the creation of affordable housing because people need it right now. So my comment is we have a difference of opinion with Albany, but I think it's one that will get resolved in large measure because the State Assembly shares our view that we don't need more bureaucracy when it comes to affordable housing. We need more speed and more housing for people in the city.
All right, since we're on this side, I see Ann Jarwin, another one of our youngest members here, as our president of the Queen Center for Women of New York.
Thank you very much for coming and giving me a moment.
Use the mic, Ann.
Thank you for giving me a moment. I won't make a long speech, but I am very concerned with women's issues. I compliment you on the number of women commissioners you have.
Thank you.
But where is the commissioner on women's issues?
So
do you have a department for women's issues?
Yes, we have a new approach. So first of all, I'm proud to say that the senior members of my administration, the most senior jobs, are 53% women at this point.
Looks real good.
Thank you. And we created a new concept. We took that concept and we call it now the Commission on Gender Equity. Okay. Because we're concerned in things like pay equity and the other kinds of needs that women have that have not been addressed that go far beyond what yesterday's issue was. A whole host of new issues we have to address. So my wife's playing a very big role in that. And
do you have a new commission?
We have a group of commission members, and we're just about to name an executive director. That announcement is actually only a few days away.
And on that issue, you had the commissioner of the Parks Department talking about Fort Taunton.
Yes.
And we have a building on its way, 207 Taunton Avenue, for the Center for the Women of New York. We will be worrying about women who have all kinds of needs, domestic violence, job security, many issues of women, veterans, things of that sort. And we're going to have enough money to get started, but to finish it, I hope we can count on you to help us.
You have made a persuasive argument.
Okay, thank you.
She always does. That's our Ann. So, and behind the commissioners here, I think we saw a hand up, Min Sun Kim, our new president of CAGNY, Korean American Association of Greater New York. More acronyms. So you got to know all the acronyms.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Okay, first, on behalf of 500,000 Korean Americans in New York, I really appreciate your hard work and dedication to improve our quality of life.
Thank you.
This the Korean American community. We are trying to build Korean American Immigrant Heritage Museum in New York City. It is a shame that we do not have any heritage museum in New York City, even though we have 115 years of history. To build a museum is the first step towards passing down our legacy and educating future generations about their roots. And also, this is the way to demonstrate how Korean Americans have contributed to American immigrant history. I think this is not just a Korean Americans issue. I believe that our country, United States, real power comes from the harmony of its diversity. When we share and understand the other's culture and history, we will be better collaborate with each other.
Yes.
And finally, we will be able to respect each other's differences. So tonight, I'm asking your support to make it happen in our community.
Thank you. Yes, and I think you're right that part of what makes us strong is appreciating each community. And you're right, when people understand their heritage, I think it gives them a lot of confidence. When I was 15 years old, I went to my grandfather's hometown near Naples in Italy for the first time. And it's an incredible feeling to understand your roots. And I think it gives you strength. And it's very important for the next generations to know them. And I think everyone appreciating each other's heritage is part of what makes New York City great. So I'm happy to work with you to see how the city can play a role with you in achieving that vision. Thank you.
Thank you. I also see Rabbi Yossi hiding in the back, who's the head of the Chabad of Northeast Queens and my true brother, and does Bible study every Monday, and I always try to get over there. But thank you, Rabbi, for all the work that you do. Yes, question here in the back. You have a nicer tie than we do. That's not right.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Syed, and I live in Bay Terrace, Cobb 1. And thank you for coming, taking your time to, give us some time, giving us some time from your busy schedule. I have a quick question. My son goes to 169. He's 10 years old, and Department of Education and your administration is doing a wonderful job in towards providing, good education. What becomes very difficult for family like us, young family, myself and my wife, we both work full time. I work for city. My wife works for private sector. When it comes to summer, people enjoy summertime. It becomes nightmare for us because it's really a financial burden to put our kid in a summer camp or, Samuel, I feel, doing a wonderful job providing summer camp, but I feel that at this time, we need some focus on making some improvement. And I don't know if you have any plan or you will be putting some efforts to improve, summer programs or summer camps for middle-class families. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, again, one of the reasons why it's good to just talk directly to people is to tell you sometimes good news, sometimes not so good news. And I want to be straightforward about it. I don't have a new vision for how to address the summer camp issue. We got a lot of challenges we're facing and a lot of things we're trying to do to make our schools work better and many, many other challenges, and that's where I have to focus the resources. We do try to relieve the pressure on families in a variety of ways. What we did with pre-K, that's for families obviously have younger kids, but for those families, that's a savings of, if they went and found a private program, that would be $10,000 or $15,000. For middle school families, for kids that are 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, in the last 2 years since I came in, we guaranteed after-school programs. That used to not be the case, but every middle school kid in New York City is now guaranteed the right to a free after-school program, usually like 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So for parents with kids in that range, that's something that, again, they would not have to pay separately to have a program to put their child into. They can get it for free. But I do not have something for summer camp. I don't want to lie to you. and there's just some limits on what we can do. We're trying to help people in a lot of ways, but that's one I don't have the reach to do.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we do have some good news there because we can do some things out of the council. And 169 is getting a brand new auditorium and with the air conditioning that we were able to put the funding in. So that's going to help the summer programming there. And we've extended summer programs with the Junior Tennis League, with the tennis programs, and with summer camps in College Point in 129, 94 in Little Neck, 169, 184 in Whitestone is going to continue with the tennis camp. So I hear you as the parent side. You got to have options for our kids in the summer. So one of the things we're committed to do is expand into every community more of those great summer programs with our partners. So there'll definitely be some options this summer. That's why you had the best students. You saw them. We had to get them an auditorium. So on this side, yes, we had a question here. I think we're coming down toward the end. So as we're getting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, I have 3 questions.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Come on. This late hour, we need people to sing. If I may suggest, will the gentleman, if you would do one, your favorite one, so a few more people can get a chance.
Actually, I can ask you to help, actually, Paul Vallone, which tried to help us regarding unfunded mandates. You talk about cost of living in New York. New York is imposing...
Well, tell him where you live so he understands the complexity there.
Okay. I'm a board member of the Bay Club community, which is 1,000 apartments. And New York, for many years, is imposing unfunded mandates that I know Warren knows about it and Paul knows about it. It's Local Law 11, Local Law 87, and so on, and backflow preventers is imposing expenses on multiple buildings that at least should get tax credit, if nothing else. It's very expensive. Local Law 11, it can be from $100,000 to $2 million. Backflow preventer, $200,000. In return, or some kind of relief of tax. I know Warren is trying to help. I know Paul is trying to help. We need the city to help Paul to help us.
Let me see with either Rick in terms of buildings or Jacques in terms of finance. I don't know if there's any way we are able to help at this point with those laws. But why don't you tell people so everyone knows what those laws are there for?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Chandler. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings. Some of the local laws that the gentleman's referring to are facade inspection laws, for one thing. I know that it can be expensive. It certainly is a challenge to get your facade inspected and maintained. But I have to say, from my perspective, I see facade failures every day of the year, and we all know that occasionally it has tragic consequences, and so it's a very, very important thing. I agree with you that it does impose a burden sometimes under the smaller building owner, on all building owners, but particularly the smaller unit ones. Backflow preventers are certainly a real issue for sanitary water conditions and the prevention of disease from the sanitary system. Again, can be quite an imposition.
I'm not questioning the reason behind it. I'm just asking the point that you're imposing on buildings, small, medium, and large, $1 million, $2 million, $200,000, and so on.
Understood.
But at least to get some kind of tax credit.
We would look forward to working with the council member and others.
I know that Mr. Vallone requested to get tax credit for Local Law 11, beyond that to go.
And so, again, in the interest of being straightforward, we don't have that today. It's something I appreciate. Look, the concern is a very real one. Obviously, it's hurting your bottom line, and you're concerned about it. The reason I wanted Rick to remind people is we believe this is about what people need to be safe, and we do think it's something that the people who own the place have to account for. You're saying there may be an unintended consequences. We're certainly happy to work with the councilman to see if we can figure out some kind of solution. But again, I always like to be straightforward. I don't have it for you tonight, but we are willing to work with you.
Can I ask two quick questions?
Well, I can sum up for you. So one of the ideas we were trying to put forward that we might be able to look at was if a building owner has successfully passed the inspection, that when the second inspection comes, that it could be waived as long as there wasn't any previous violation on the building to try to cut the costs. And it was something we were looking at to pass on. So I love you, but I'm going to have to.
Well, you
really got to keep going.
And Paul, you'll meet with the commissioner, 2 commissioners on that point.
We're getting closer to the time when the self-help center is kicking us out around 9:30. So the last few questions, if we can do them quickly so we can get a chance to everyone. Yes, I know, dear, you've had your hand up for a while. And our presidents, too. We got to take care of our presidents.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Aline Euler, and I'm very interested in the environment of New York City. And I congratulate you because you do believe in global warming and climate change. Now,
I believe it's a problem.
yeah, it is a problem.
I don't support it, but I believe it's a problem.
I know, but that's great that you support it.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, can you help support the 3-minute idling law in New York City?
Yes.
The buses in front of schools run their bus, the children come out. We have a high rate of children's asthma.
Yep.
So I think that, you know, all kinds of buses, trucks, they sit there with motors going on and on and on. And also they're burning fossil fuels.
Yep, I really appreciate the question. Thank you. And I want to tell you a couple of things and then see if either PD or DEP, DOT, whoever wants to jump in. We are committed as a city under my administration to reducing our emissions by 80% by the year 2050. That is the international gold standard, and we're going to get there. We're going to retrofit all our public buildings. We're going to reduce our emissions constantly. But it's going to take exactly what you say. We have to take every piece of this equation seriously. And cars and buses and trucks can't idle. It's against the law, and it really does harm our environment. So our colleague from DEP, do you want to give us a little update on that?
I'll just say briefly, my name is Ibrahim again. We've gotten a lot of complaints about the idling issue, and we've added some inspectors, and we've changed around some of the hours. So people, when you call into 311, really be very specific about exactly when and where, and we can make sure people get out there. It's really crucial that people call 311 specifically for these concerns.
Can you put a press release out about that? That's very important. Please put a press release out.
All right, thank you. We're taking orders from a good lady here.
And her husband. Yes, I know. We were waiting right here. Yes, my dear. So many people were waiting. Thank you for your patience, by the way.
Coming tonight. My name's Chris Benway, the parent of a young adult with autism who attends District 75 program. Recently, Chancellor Farina was talking about increasing academic rigor for students in District 75. I agree. I have high expectations from my son. If he had the ability to take a Regents exam or go to college, he wouldn't be there. So my question is, can we increase vocational training for kids in District 75?
Thank you. I'll say, I'm not an educator. I'll see if either superintendent wants to say something, but what I'd say very simply is as a parent, I think the chancellor is not trying to say one size fits all at all. We have seen some kids with special needs who got incredible support from their teachers and did go on to college, including kids who people said there was no way in the world they would ever get to college and went and graduated. There's other kids, it's not going to be the right option for them. And I agree with you, vocational training is a perfectly good option. I'm someone who believes it should be given a lot more respect as well as an option. So I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, Chancellor Farina is a real educator, 50 years as an educator, and clearly doesn't think it's one thing for everyone. She just wants to say, for those who have the ability to reach a level that might take them to college, we should also give them that chance. You know what?
Hi, everyone. The chancellor was also just in District 25 speaking on this topic, and she was saying that she's working very hard up in Albany around licensing for teachers and ensuring that these programs can be put together for New York City. Yes.
And what I'll throw in just...
The vocational program, she means, yeah.
It was an eye-opening as I went to all the schools that I learned that the District 75 schools weren't really receiving much funding. So in previous decisions, when we fund, my capital budget, the way we've decided, over 50% goes into our schools. So every District 75 school gets the same amount of funding as the school that it's located in. And that has made a huge difference in the last 2 years to get the programming and the resources that those students dearly need. So, yeah, we put the money right back. And that's why we keep going into every school. So, yes, in the back, Henry.
My name is Henry Euler. I'm First Vice President of Auburndale Improvement Association, a member of Community Board 11. I hope you come back very often to visit us here in Northeast Queens. My civic association...
Yeah, let's take an applause. So we want him to come back. We want the mayor back.
My civic association wants to know when their children can go to PS 130. PS 130 is our local neighborhood school. We've been closed out of that school for years. It's currently used by District 25. It's geographically in District 26. And the children are being bused to overcrowded schools in District 26. We want our school back. We've been working for years with our elected officials. We've signed petitions, and we want our school back as soon as possible.
PS 130 is one of the shining jewels in our district, so it's sorely fought after on both of our districts. And Henry's at a point, it was transferred back over, and it's one of those schools that is so good that the district wants it back. And it's one of the things we just talked about with SCA on possibility of expanding 130, because it only goes to third grade, and it's such a successful school that maybe we can even grow it. But I don't know if there's any input.
Let's see what our Deputy Chancellor has to say. Elizabeth Rose.
So we also have a new school that we are building in District 26, near the area of 130, and that will be coming online in 2017. And so that new capacity will help enable students to stay closer to home. And again, it is a continued challenge, as the mayor said. This is a very overcrowded area, both districts 25 and 26. We would very much like to work with the communities on how can we best build new schools. We have funding for new schools in this area. We need the community's help to find the sites for them.
But let me ask Paul, are you saying you think there's more that could be done on that site too?
Yeah, there's Apatu. They had an annex to that school that didn't go to the same height as the main building. So we have a possibility there where we could use some of the funding that we couldn't allocate for the school that we tried to put in to actually expand that school.
Well, we should take a look at that, so we'll follow up with you. Thank you.
Because there's two schools there, that's right. Superintendents always give good information in the background. That's two. Always listen to your superintendents. Yeah. Anyone, before we leave this section, right in the front, how could we not?
Hi, thank you both for joining us this evening. My name is Joe Vasquez. I'm from Southeast Queens, and for 2 years I have been asking for a directional light at the corner because we've had 13 accidents.
So you're in the right spot because you have so many commissioners here.
Yes,
that they're going to take down that intersection.
An answer?
They're going to get the intersection taken down for you, and they're going to have
I think
a traffic study.
You're going to get something of an answer. You may not get the full answer you want, but you're going to get something of an answer.
Well, I'm happy to take the information about where the intersection is, and maybe I'll catch you afterwards.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
It's at the corner of 89th Avenue and 221st Street.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you afterwards.
See, we even help other districts. That's how nice we are here.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, well, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the left-turn signal, Warren. The left-turn signal, what happened? That was going to be your question? So stand up and tell me about the left-turn signal that I've heard.
Hi, I'm Roberta Schreiber, and I've been...
Hey, Roberta.
I've been a volunteer at the Self-Help for 10 years, and I love it. Now, my question... We definitely need a left-hand turn signal on 26th Avenue and Corporal Kennedy. Yes. Yeah, there were two fatalities, two. So.
Wait, I think I need to be defended by the city because they will tell you how many times I have asked for that left turn signal.
Well,
Nicole's trying to hide in the back there.
Who do we ask? Who?
We've got.
Are you ask me? Just my luck.
You shouldn't sit down anymore, Paul.
I want you to know the councilman has pushed this very, very hard, and now you have the expert here before you. Go ahead, Paul.
I believe the councilman has asked 7 times.
A few, and make it 8. See?
And there, look, this is a tough one to explain. There's a reason we haven't done it, and I will try and do my best to explain it. And I will mention, as the mayor said up front, we're not going to be able to do that left turn signal, but we are going to do a safety project at that intersection. We're going to work with the council member and folks in the local community. We're going to look at ways that we can improve the pedestrian experience, build out crosswalks. So we will find a safety project.
Wait a minute, Polly. This is a very concerned audience. Okay, so I'm going to remind everyone, Polly Trottenberg was the Deputy Secretary for the United States Department of Transportation, and this is part of the issue. There is a federal issue. Explain the issue.
Right. Well, so when we go around the city and we get requests, and this is something that I know can be very frustrating for residents and for elected officials, we use a standard that cities use all over the country to decide where to put in signals and left-hand turns and stoplights. And we use federal tests where we look at the amount of traffic, the crash record, a bunch of different factors. We also look at what effect perhaps a left-hand turn signal is going to have on backing up the traffic behind it. So I know it's very frustrating. The community has asked many times for it. It has not met the federal test, but as a result, working with the council member, we're going to find a different way basically to skin this cat. We're going to find a different way to put safety improvements in that intersection.
And wait, one more thing. Give him an example, the kind of thing you may put in.
Well, again, I think one of the things we're going to look to do, particularly something that's popular in areas with seniors, is building out the sidewalks, making a shorter crossing distance so people don't have to cross as far, so they'll feel safer as they cross the street.
Expanding the crosswalk times, bringing in some speed bumps, doing a traffic study all up and down Corporal Kennedy Boulevard, all of that will be a big, big help.
Yes.
Out here. Yes, in the back there, sir. Yes, right there in the middle. Wait, you got a microphone coming to you. Look how quickly he ran.
I don't need. My name is Gabor Gross. I live 21112 23rd Avenue, Bayside. We have a problem, and Bayside is going to have a problem. Bell Apartment, the owner of the apartments, the buildings, and the manager is the same person. And he's dealing with Cordmeyer, who owns the shopping center in Bayside. And Cordmeyer wants to build some buildings. Each time it comes up, is more buildings coming up. I mean, they want to bring it up. The owner of Bell Apartment, or the manager, I don't know which one, is dealing with Cordmeyer, and
so let's get to the question. So what's the specific question there? That what's happening?
What's happening now? The owner or the manager wants to renew the land.
Well, there's a co-op board there, correct? So the co-op board is speaking to Cordmeyer about the property in that section. There's many sections. It's part of the complicated area that Cordmeyer, as the owner, and our lessees, our co-op apartments there. The leases are slowly starting to come to a point where they're starting to expire, and one section has the ability to negotiate a new deal for themselves, but there are other sections involved. So there's a lot going on there, but there's not one person who's been making that decision.
Thank you for helping me out, explaining.
You did good, didn't
We're
you?
trying.
You did good.
Warren teaches me well.
Months ago, I met your brother, and I just mentioned I live in Bell Apartment, and he told me it's a done deal, and he walked away from me.
Well, what we can make sure is at least that nothing's...
The problem is here.
Okay.
The
Okay, but
neighborhood doesn't know about
He will, Councilman will follow up.
But now the good thing is we're staying and we'll follow up. But that one we know all about. So work with my staff is here, by the way, my mobile office. So anyone who does have an address and doesn't meet with a commissioner or didn't get a question asked, we have great relationships with all of the agencies. It's something we're very proud of. Many of us, God bless you, have had situations where we needed to get a commissioner on the phone. And I have to tell you, for our council office, and Mayor, as a great compliment to you, every one of your commissioners and your staff will get back to us within that day. And I couldn't ask for more than that. Obviously, we'd like to have some yeses on some of the things, but God bless you, everyone's sneezing. But that type of relationship is what tonight's all about. I think in a great summary, this is government at work. You know, it's never perfect. We're trying our best. And to have the mayor come and every city agency head and their staff here. You couldn't ask for more than that. So I thank you for all of that. This is a district that has been wanting this for a long time, so we're very, very happy. Mayor, if you'd like to some closing remarks for us.
Thank you to everyone for everything you do for the community. And I want you to know these are some, I agree with Paul, some very, very good people who work on behalf of us in these agencies. Say hello to them, thank them for the work they do, and thank you for all you do.
Frankie, come on over, Frankie. We have one little...